Alright, so hey guys, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are all doing well. Today, I want to sit down and talk a little bit about Digital Storms and them as a company. I have had another video out about them called Don't Buy a Digital Storms PC. And a lot of people didn't like that video, but I still kind of stand by a lot of those opinions today. I don't think that they're the best value, and I think that there are other companies out there that do a better job than them, but that's not really the point of this video. The point of this video is to kind of take a look at one of their probably most popular PCs that they end up selling on their website, because they did end up updating them. And because of that, I think that it's worth taking a re-look over it. Now, if you take a look at all the products that Digital Storms has, they have the Lynx, the Lumos, the Vlox, the Aventium, and the Bolt. And the Lumos, the Vlox, the Aventium, and the Bolt are all custom PCs, so you can pretty much just customize all of them. The Lynx you can also customize, but this one has some pre-configured PCs that you're not going to be able to configure yourself, and those ones are going to be the ones that we're going to be taking a look at today. But just for some people who haven't watched that previous video that I've made, I do want to kind of clear up some stuff. I don't hate the Lumos or any of these other PCs just because it's a Digital Storms PC. The problem I have with it is just that a lot of times the base configurations are super expensive, and when you do an upgrade, it's also super expensive to just even upgrade a part. So even just to go to a Ryzen 7, you're pretty much paying around the cost of the CPU. Now the cost of the CPU is around like $350, but paying $210 on top of the cost of a 5600X, I think it's just way too much just to slot in a different CPU. And just like to go up in power supply, to go up to an 850 watt power supply, it's an extra $91 on top of the crappy power supply that you're already given. The base storage set is just, I don't think, great. It's pretty much just a waste of an M.2 slot. I mean, if you just take a look at it, it's a 1TB drive, and it does use the M.2 interface, but it doesn't use an NVMe interface. It doesn't use the PCIe Express lane. It uses the SATA 3 interface, which is not great. It's going to have like way lower read and write speeds compared to an NVMe drive, which is pretty much standard. And if you do want to upgrade to an NVMe drive, you're going to be paying, for the same capacity, you're going to be paying around $85 just to upgrade from this drive to, you know, a actually capable M.2 NVMe Samsung 970 EVO, which is a really good drive. It's just a lot of money to go from something that's, you know, pretty much the same thing to something that just has some better read and write speeds, or just has some reasonable read and write speeds. And then again, you're also getting like the worst graphics card you can possibly get for this, GTX 1650. And if you get like one of the low end CPUs, you can go with the, again, crappy cooling, but you need to change it for this, I guess, and you need to go with like the H20, which is another $54, and you're paying $2,000 for a system with a GTX 1650 in it. If you want to go up to something with like a 3060 Ti, you're paying $2,500 for it. And it's not like it's an amazing system. Like, you're also getting pretty crappy chassis fans. So if you want to have some RGB fans, if that's something that you care about, you're paying $2,600 for that system. Again, it's just a lot of money for what they're doing. What I want to do today is just talk about the Lynx, since this is what they have updated. Now, again, like I said before, there are two ways to kind of configure a Lynx. You can either get a custom order, which I do not recommend because it's the exact same as all their other PCs. It's still just overpriced stuff. You're still getting a base model of a 1650. Again, if you want to upgrade to a 3060 Ti, which I think is a pretty good graphics card for nowadays stuff, you're paying a lot of money. I know graphics cards are expensive now, but this is just a lot of money to upgrade anything like that. And again, it's just the same story across the board. It's just a different case and a different base model of specs. It's pretty much all the same thing though. But the main thing that I want to talk about today is going to be the Lynx pre-built systems. I guess this is probably the way to put it. So instead of being able to get a custom order, these systems are all going to have pre-configured components. But again, I would like to preface that these aren't great value computers when it just comes down to their specs. If you're someone who's pretty much just already dead set on getting a Digital Storms PC because of like their warranty service or their upgrade service or something like that, then these would be the ones I would lean you towards. But if you're someone who's not dead set on getting a Digital Storms PC, I would probably lean you towards something like Best Buy or just one of those other companies out there that offer better gaming PCs for, you know, lower amounts of money. First, I want to give them a couple compliments here. They did pretty good in terms of pricing here. Like, I think starting at $1,300 is pretty much just like what you would want to do if you're a kind of quote unquote premium company. Because originally when I took a look at them back in the day, they were selling a gaming PC that they were selling for $800, which had an APU in it, which is just a CPU with a baked in graphics card or graphics processor. And it just was not a good buy. Like, it was not even a gaming PC. But now I can fully say that all of these PCs are considered gaming PCs. They should play games fairly well. across the board, but you are going to get varying levels of performance. And what they try to do is indicate that level of performance with these little bars here, though we will talk about this here in a little bit. These are probably one of my least favorite things that they have on here. Let's just talk about the specs first, and then we can kind of get into that little rant. So for their $1,300 PC, it's not like terrible. You're getting an i7-10700F, exactly what I think you should be getting for this price point. I think any people who are doing any sort of content creation will really like this CPU. It should give you a lot of horsepower for all the stuff that you might want to do, whether it be video editing, photo editing, or anything else that is somewhat CPU intensive. This CPU should be fine for it. Now for their GPU, it's a 1660. It's not anything great. You know, it's I think a little bit lower tier than I would like for this price point, but again, it's Digital Storms. They charge a premium for their products, which I guess is kind of understood at this point. But around everything else, it's fine. 16 gigs of memory is what I would expect at this price point, and at like this day and age, 16 gigs of RAM is pretty standard. You get a 500 gigabyte M.2 SSD, which I think is great, and then premium air cooler, which is like just a Hyper 212. So nothing crazy. Now when we start going up to PCs, I'm gonna skip the better PC because this is where my rant begins. But the good, the best, and ultimate, they all go up pretty much linearly with price and in terms of performance. With the best PC, you can upgrade in the GPU. With the ultimate PC, you can upgrade in the GPU and in the storage. So you know, that's great. Now I know exactly what Digital Storms was trying to do with this PC. They were trying to make one that you kind of don't really have the best all-around components, but you go straight for the best graphics card that you can get. So you should have the best gaming experience, which I think is a dumb idea to go for in the first place, especially because they downgrade the components so much that you're going to be affecting other parts of the PC. And what I mean by this is going from an Intel i7-10700F to an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 is a pretty big downgrade. It's like a whole performance tier. Going from a 3600 to a 10700F, like you have 2 less cores with this CPU, and again, it's just going to perform worse in general. It's not like this one has better single-threaded performance. The i7-10700F should have around the same single-threaded performance as this CPU, if not a little bit better. And it's just like this kind of weird thing that this is a clear downgrade from this CPU. But then the graphics card is like a huge upgrade. So you got a 6600 XT, which is a really good graphics card, and it's a pretty modern graphics card as well. It just came out a couple months ago. And it's a great mid-range card for, I think, most people. Again, this is a little bit of a pricey price point to get this for. But again, I think it's a good graphics card. It should put out some really good frame rates at 1080p. But when we take a look at the memory, like you're shrinking it down to 8 gigs of RAM when you have 16 gigs on every other model. You have a 240 gigabyte SSD compared to the 500 gigabyte ones that you have on every other one, and the 1 terabyte on the highest end one. But then you're adding in a 2 terabyte hard drive, which is probably dirt cheap for them to get. And again, I don't necessarily have a problem with this configuration. I've seen companies do stuff like this before, but the way that they're showing it to the customer just is kind of what makes me upset. If you're someone who doesn't really know too much about, you know, gaming PCs in general, and you probably just look at the specs, you're like, oh, okay, I kind of know what these brands are, I know what these things are, and you look at the bars and you're like, okay, so this one's better at gaming, this one's better at multitasking, blah 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 blah. It doesn't, like, it's not correlating well. Like, I don't understand what they're getting these bars from. These bars look the exact same to me for multitasking and gaming. Like, these bars look the exact same between the $1,300 and the $1,400 PC. Like, I do not see a huge difference between them. And when you're looking at them, it's like, okay, well, the gaming performance actually on this one should be slightly higher, even though you have a worse all-around system. And the multitasking on this should be way lower because you are getting a much worse CPU and way less memory. So you're not going to be able to have all those applications open that you would previously have because you're not going to have as much memory to hold all that application data. The only difference between these two systems, like you're going from like the good to the best, like the gaming bars, like you're seeing like the multitasking bar go up. There is nothing improving the multitasking performance of this PC. A graphics card is not going to be improving your quote unquote multitasking performance. And that is the only change here, because of course the i7-10700 is going to perform the exact same in this system as it is in this system if they're doing it right. Unless they are purposely sabotaging this system, then these two systems should perform the exact same when it comes to multitasking. And that's just what kind of makes me upset, is that these things are just blatantly wrong when it comes to trying to help people gauge what they want in their gaming PC. Again, like, they're just not correct metrics, and there's not even numbers behind it, so people can't even tell like what sort of percentage increase you're going going to get through buying one PC to another. But again, like people who aren't even like looking at specs that much and don't really know what they mean are going to probably end up buying a PC that they might not know what it does. Like if you end up buying the better PC, you might not know that you have to upgrade the RAM in order to get the best performance out of your CPU. Like I honestly think this is a single channel stick. They do not show 2 sticks, and dual channel is what you need for Ryzen. And I'm just kind of disappointed with this because you are kind of leading people who don't know a whole lot about PCs into the wrong thing, and maybe making them spend more money than they probably should for their needs. And you're not really giving them the kind of indication of what kind of performance they're going to be getting for the PCs, because you're just giving them blatantly wrong information. These 2 PCs are not going to perform the same, even though that's what these 2 kind of bars show. They're going to perform vastly different in vastly different scenarios. So it's just a dumb thing that I think that Digital Storms definitely needs to fix, and probably needs to do a lot more work on to help their consumers have a better idea of what they're going to end up buying with their gaming PCs. So yeah, that's the end of the video. If you guys have any questions, make sure to leave those down in the comment section below. If you did end up enjoying the video, make sure to leave a like. And if you guys want to see more content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.